Hello and welcome to the Scars That Bloom. I'm Roots and Petals. Thank you for joining me. Today's story is called The Rose and the Gardener. At first glance, it might sound like a simple story, but perhaps it's really about something deeper. Or perhaps it's about something entirely different. I'll let you decide. There once was a rose that grew in a beautiful garden. Not the kind of rose people cross towns to photograph. Not the kind painted on greeting cards. Just a rose. Quietly growing where it had always grown. And for many seasons, there was a gardener. The gardener watered the rose, protected it from storms, tended the soil around its roots, and little by little the rose came to trust the gardener's footsteps. When the gardener appeared, the rose felt safe. When the gardener spoke, the garden listened. When the gardener cared, the rose flourished. Seasons passed. The garden changed. But some things seemed certain until one day they weren't. One day the gardener became distracted. His attention wandered beyond the garden walls. And in that moment of carelessness, he stepped where he should not have stepped. The rose was crushed beneath his foot. Petals scattered across the soil. The garden fell silent. The rose could not understand how the very person who had nurtured it could also be the one to cause such pain. For a long time, the rose lay broken. It questioned its beauty, its worth, its future. The gardener eventually realized the damage he had caused. He knelt beside the rose, not because he could undo what happened, but because he finally understood what he had almost lost. The petals would never return exactly as they were. Some scars remained. Yet, as the seasons passed, something remarkable happened. New growth appeared. The rose bloomed again. Not because it had never been hurt, but because its roots had survived. The gardener's mistake crushed the petals. It could not destroy what made the rose a rose. I wonder what stood out to you in that story. Was it the rose? Was it the gardener? Was it the moment the petals fell? Or was it the moment new growth appeared? Have you ever felt like the rose? Have you ever been the gardener? Have you ever carried a scar that nobody else could see? One thing I find interesting about gardens is that they are always changing. Even when they appear exactly the same on the surface, something is happening beneath the soil. Roots are growing, seeds are waiting, old growth is making room for new growth. The garden is never truly standing still. Perhaps people are a little like that too. Sometimes we look at a scar and assume the story ended there. But scars are strange things. They mark a moment, yet life continues long after the moment has passed. I also find myself wondering about the rose. Not because it was hurt, but because of the questions it asks afterwards. The rose spent so much time studying the missing petals, wondering what was wrong with it, wondering whether it could have done something differently, wondering whether it was still worthy of being admired. I suspect many of us know what that feels like, to focus so much on what was lost that we forget to notice what remains. And then there's the gardener. Whenever I revisit the story, I find myself wondering about him too. Was the most important moment the mistake? Or was it the moment he finally understood what he almost lost? Perhaps both moments matter. Perhaps neither does. Perhaps the story means something completely different to you. That's the thing about stories. Once they're told, they no longer belong entirely to the storyteller. They belong to the listener too. And every listener walks away carrying something different. So before we finish today, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. What if the most important part of the story wasn't the moment the petals fell? What if it was the moment the roots kept growing? Sometimes life leaves us with scars. Sometimes another person causes them. Sometimes we cause them ourselves. Yet the question remains the same. Can something damaged still grow? Can something hurt still be beautiful? Can something changed still be valuable? I don't think scars and growth are opposites. I think they often exist side by side. Perhaps that's why gardens are such powerful teachers. Every gardener knows that broken branches don't stop spring from arriving. Every season leaves its mark, yet life continues to grow. Perhaps people aren't so different. Perhaps the story isn't really about roses. Perhaps it's about resilience. Perhaps it's about regret. Perhaps it's about forgiveness. Or perhaps it's about something entirely different. Whatever it means to you, I hope you remember this. The gardener's mistake crushed the petals, but it couldn't destroy what made the rose a rose. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, this has been The Scars That Bloom.